instead of my. There you go, Robert.
Okay, got it. It just told me we're recording. Okay. Well, good. Welcome everybody to the June meeting of the Gualala Municipal Advisory Council. We have our usual introductions, and we have a new council member, Dan Lewis, who might want to introduce himself to all of us that haven't met him already.
Hi, I'm Dan.
Okay.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. Henry's just joined us. So let me see. We're just missing Kevin, but like I said, he has to pick up his wife down at SFO, and he may be joining us by phone a little bit later, he said to me. So, okay. We've introduced ourselves. We should call the resolution that we usually read into the meeting minutes every month. We have to mention that the GMAC is authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the legislative bodies of the Gualala Municipal Advisory Council pursuant to the Ralph M. Brown Act. And we usually take a vote on the fact that we're still doing Zoom meetings. So would somebody make a motion on that we are doing that? Okay.
I will move to approve.
I'll second.
You'll second, Melissa? Okay. Yep. Then let's go right down the list and take a voice vote here. Melissa?
Aye.
Kevin's not here. Dawn?
Aye.
Henry?
He's muted.
Henry,
sorry about that. Aye.
Aye, okay. Dan?
I don't get to vote yet, I'm told.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm ex officio.
Tom?
Aye.
And Robert? Aye. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Point of order. If Dan has taken the oath and mailed it in, is he not official yet?
Not until it's filed by the clerk in Ukiah.
News to me. I thought
That's
once you take the oath, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's my recollection as well.
You're right.
Right.
Okay. I was just going to ask you, Henry. Okay. Well, good. And at least you're attending our meeting, Dan. See how we handle ourselves. Okay.
He may want to change his mind.
No,
I'm kidding.
Okay.
Okay, then let's go on to our consent agenda. I think we have maybe a slight amendment to do here somewhere, didn't we?
On the agenda, but I'll move to approve the minutes of May 5th, 2022.
Okay, so we've got a motion. Who wants to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, so let's make a voice vote on that here. Melissa?
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Oh, that's right. You missed last month's meeting. And then all of a sudden you shock us with your latest appearance. Okay.
Well, for the first time in 2.5 years, I've gotten a haircut and don't look like.
Uh-huh. Well,
it's lovely.
Yeah.
We haven't seen you in a while, so we don't have much to compare it to. So.
Okay, let's go on with the vote then. Don?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Robert? Aye. Okay, so we've approved the minutes from May. Correspondence. We have a new notice from CAL FIRE of a THP, but it's actually a non-industrial timber management plan. If you look down below under number 8, and we haven't assigned this yet. So this piece of correspondence, they can remain there under the agenda, but when we get down to number 8 and we review these assignments or we assign this, Youngling and Murphy haven't been assigned to this yet, okay? We don't know who's gonna be assigned to this, but I'd like to make that change in the agenda.
Is that the one near Robinson Gulch?
No, that one we're going to talk about tonight. Morrison Gulch. I'm sorry.
That one's on the agenda, Melissa.
Bower is near Big Gulch.
Yeah.
Robinson Gulch, near Robinson Gulch. It's in my front yard.
Well,
right.
it's actually adjacent to Big Gulch. We'll talk about it when we get there, but it's 700 foot west of Robinson Gulch.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, So anyway, let's just drop the Youngling and Murphy for now on that under number 8, that new THP that's listed under correspondence. And we'll move on to approval of the agenda. Any other edits to the agenda or any other amendments?
So you are dropping you and Mr. Murphy from walking that, or just?
Well, yeah, because we haven't even assigned it yet, Mary. So let's drop it for now.
That was a clerical error that I made in preparing the agenda, so I apologize for that.
Very well, very well.
And because we listed under correspondence, I wanted to bring that up right away.
Very well.
So with that change, do we have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
I move to approve as amended.
Okay, can we have a second from anyone?
Second.
A second from Henry. Okay. Another voice vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Robert? Aye. Okay.
And who moved that?
Tom did.
Thank you.
So we've got the agenda for tonight approved. We move on to public input on non-agenda items. Anybody from our public or council members or Mary themselves that want to act as a citizen and bring up something that's not on the agenda?
Oh, yes, if I may inquire, please. I got a notice from Zoom saying that come July 1, everything goes back to 45 minutes and then you will be cut off. Do I need to apply for anything or pay for anything in order to attend this meeting, which is a good 2.5 hours?
You do not.
I do not. They
no.
are not going to cut me off if I go over.
That's your personal account, and we hold these meetings on the GMAC account, which I've been the administrator for along with Don. And actually Don set it up and I've been using it, but I've been paying for it. We're paid for, I think, through September, roughly. And we have no limit on our account. And
didn't I submit an invoice to the county for you on that?
You did, and
okay.
I've been reimbursed for that.
You were, okay, good.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that
to clarify,
no council member would be cut off and I would not.
No, to clarify, Zoom generously allowed people to stay on longer than 45 minutes during the pandemic. And now I guess they're saying back to normal. So there's a 45-minute limit on personal accounts, which are free. And it's still pretty generous, but our meetings are paid for, so we're good.
Very well. Thank you.
As further clarification, that's about the host. So if you host a meeting, you're limited to 45 minutes. If you attend a meeting, then the only thing that matters is what the host's limitations are. And in this case, the host is GMAC, which has a paid account and no limit.
Thank you very much.
And just for another clarification, the pandemic is far from over. The people who have been infected, they are 30 times the reported number.
All right.
30 times.
That's
wow.
Stretching it a little bit for a public comment. So
you think so?
No.
You have the floor, Melissa, if you want it.
No, that was it. I was just going to
okay.
say it's not over. The count they have now anywhere is about 1/30th of what is actually.
Yeah,
is.
but what does that have to do with Zoom?
This is not a public comment.
No. Okay. Move on then. Any other public comment on non-agenda items, which I thought that was, but okay. Hearing none, let's move on then to our law enforcement report. Sheriff Matt Kendall is here, and we saw a nice letter to the editor in the ICO today about you, Matt. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't see any news today because I ran up to Trinity County to look at they completed their jail build. And I wanted to report out on that a little bit. And I'm sorry, I'm pulled over alongside the road because I'm on my way back from Trinity County, just now got back into Mendocino County. I was really impressed with the fact that they're doing it a lot like us. And there's going to be more space for programming. There's going to be more space for, we're going to step away from warehousing of inmates and actually start trying to build better roads for them back into the community. And I think that it's high time that we started doing this, because honestly, I've been involved in the criminal justice system for over 30 years now. And it seems like people who went into Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, the last thing that was happening was any correction and rehabilitation. And so us taking this on the local level, I think is going to serve 100% of our county so much better than, you know, this way that we've been warehousing people in the system for the last, well, pretty much my entire life. So I think it's a really, really good step in the right direction. And, you know, I hired a young lady who is our restorative justice coordinator. Extremely impressed with the work that she's doing with just the education and that portion of it. We're going to, in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to have a real classroom with, you know, the ability to teach welding, to teach carpentry, college skills. We're going in the right direction, and I'm really happy with it. I am. I've got a fella coming out this week. I don't know if you've ever heard of Carolina coops. If you ever go on the internet, my chicken coop I built from all of their ideas, because I can never afford to buy one. There's a guy flying out from Carolina to work with the guys that I've got incarcerated and myself, and he's going to build us something that I could not pay for out of my pocket, you know, about $15,000 worth of chicken coop. And these guys are going to do it with him, and they're all looking forward to it. And this guy donated this stuff to the Mendocino County Corrections Department because he believes in the work that we're doing. Anyway, I think it's a pretty exciting time, and we've got some good things going on. Now, I've got some more good news. We recently graduated last Friday. We graduated 2 deputies from the police academy. One of the young fellas is Damian Nelson's from the South Coast, and then Brandon Rossich from the North Coast. On the 10th, we're going to be graduating a deputy from the police academy at College of the Redwoods. He's the son of a couple of people that I grew up with in Covelo, and I believe that he's a Yuki tribal member. He's a really, really intelligent and hardworking young man, and so I'm going to be super happy to bring him on. We also have hired a lateral this month. Actually, I'm sorry, in the month of May. Let me put it that way. And so there's 4 right there. And then we have 2 laterals who are looking to come from other agencies right now, for a total of 6 in the last, you know, basically 40-ish days. And so our numbers are coming up. And then this work that we've been doing with the recruitment fairs and whatnot, we now have 30 applicants for corrections officer for the jail. And working with the Unconditional Freedom Project, they're going to help us to do a lot more advertising about, you know, what we're actually doing in our custody setting, showing, you know, the good work that's being done. And I think that that's also going to help us recruit. I don't have the stats on me. I don't know if Lieutenant Cromer's here today.
No,
it doesn't appear so.
Don't see him, no.
But I can tell you that we had kind of we had that weather and rain and whatnot, just a little snap here and there, and it slowed down our calls for service. We had that fire down there. I was on that fire, and I've got to tell you, if you think that the coast won't burn, you're wrong. We need to all exercise as much care and caution as what we can right now in everything that we do. I was speaking with CAL FIRE, and they said that right now, 96% of fires in Mendocino County are human caused. And, you know, so that's a big concern. And I want to keep harping on that to everybody. If you're going to use a mower, if you're going to use any gas powered equipment, please be super careful. I take a bug sprayer. If I'm working on my tractor, I have a standard fire extinguisher on my tractor. But if I'm working just mowing out in the yard or weed eating around the place or anything, I have a bug sprayer that I have filled up with soap and water. And that is an excellent fire suppression device, especially if you can catch it immediately. So I just wanted to kind of drive that point home of please, 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 let's be super careful this year. That fire went from, you know, a quarter acre to 30 acres so fast. It was just, and that wind that was driving it in those bull pines, I think the bull pines are actually called a Monterey pine or a bishop pine. I can't remember which, but I could taste the pitch in the air. That's how much fuel was in there. That black, nasty smoke kind of started dropping down when the RH came up. And you could tell that those trees were just completely filled with pitch, and that is highly, highly flammable. So let's do everything that we can this year to do our best not to cause any of these fires ourselves. Now, does anybody have any questions for me?
That was the fire in Point Arena?
Yes, right there at Bill Owens Road.
Yeah, at the Schooner Gulch area there. In fact, that they were on the news, on the Channel 2 news in the Bay Area. They were even mentioning that that fire, Matt, and talking about the air quality in the Bay Area from that fire. That kind of surprised me that the effects of that fire were all the way down, noticeable down in the Bay Area.
Really?
That's what they said on the news. Yeah.
They said Santa Rosa too.
Santa Rosa too? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, Henry,
there's a lot of smoke.
And the smoke was, it was strangely viscous. And that's the only way that I can use to describe it. It was thick, it was heavy. And as soon as the wind quit blowing and the RH came up, that smoke kind of dropped down, and it was pretty incredible. It really was.
Well, thank you for responding to that. Do we know what did cause that?
No, I spoke with my brother Luke, and he had a fire investigator out there. Luke met me over there that night. And he said, you know, we don't have a cause and origin yet. He had a fire investigator that was working that scene while I was there. I actually saw him there. And so CAL FIRE should have a cause and origin out, I would imagine, if not this week. I'd give them a call. But I'm certain that they did some fuels testing and whatnot from there, and they're probably waiting for a little bit of lab work on that.
One of the residents said it was a PG&E line that had caught loose because of the wind.
That's absolutely a possibility, Mary, because we could see right where it started was just in that general area. You could see where that PG&E line basically went from north to south there. And from what I could see, it was in that area. I can't tell you if it started underneath it or not. I'm not a fire investigator, but they had a prevention officer who was investigating in that evening before I left. And I left, the sun was dipping down, so it must have been 8:30, 9 o'clock.
So our supervisor responded to that too. We saw you both in a picture somewhere along the way.
Yeah, Ted came down there and immediately said, "Hey, Matt, I'm your guy. You tell me everything that you need." And I said, "Hey, we've got everybody without power down here." And it was really, really funny because, PG&E showed up, and I was watching the fireman, and he pulled the breakers, and they said, "We want to make sure it's really off." And he went chunk, chunk, and cut the line because they were so concerned with that wind, and the deputies and the firemen working right underneath the lines, that they wanted to make sure that it was really, really off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very pleased to hear your staffing improvements. That's some really good news. The retired dispatcher in me wants to know how your comm center staffing is, though.
I was just speaking with the sheriffs from Trinity today. Both myself and Trinity are doing pretty good. Modoc County Sheriff and Lassen County Sheriff are just right on the brink of not even being able to staff a dispatch. But when Trinity County built that new jail today, when they opened that new jail today, they do a lot of allied agency dispatching, and they have a new dispatcher in that new jail, new dispatch center. And, it is state of the art. It's absolutely beautiful. And I can't help but think that that probably helped with some recruitment for them.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mary.
Something that's really bothering me, something that I do a lot of reading about, something that I'm well conversed with. What are you doing to ensure that you're not hiring people who are members of right-wing white supremacist terrorist groups like Proud Boys and 3%ers?
Yeah, we do a very rigorous background, and that background includes all of their social media.
Okay. And you make sure that they're not members of any
Oh,
of
yeah,
those.
absolutely. In the exact same fashion that I make sure that they're not a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. I make sure that they're a member of they're not a member of the Black Panthers. I make sure that they're not a member of any of these extremist groups.
Like the KKK.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Anybody else have some questions for Matt?
Well, I just have a comment. Sheriff Kendall, I really want to congratulate you and the Sheriff Department for the work that you're doing to try to, reintegrate these prisoners that you have in the county jail. I think that's really a worthwhile effort on your part. And hopefully that'll lead to some positive effects, once these people, serve their time and get out. I am curious whether or not these detainees have, for example, the right to vote while they are being detained or serving time.
That's a good question. I believe it or not, Don, I'm not sure on that. I can ask Katrina Bartlemay.
You can't vote if you've committed a felony.
Yeah, but if they aren't convicted, they can certainly still have the right. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people who are serving misdemeanor time in jail, not as many as what there used to be, because it used to be only misdemeanors could go to jail, or to serve time in jail. Anybody convicted of a felony would have to serve time in state prison.
So if they're serving a misdemeanor, they get to vote by mail?
I would imagine it's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
They get a right to vote what their government's like, because it's their government that's taking care of them.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that it's legal. I'll have to ask Katrina about that. I've never thought about that. But you know what it would require probably is for someone to submit a change of address to the jail address.
Or someone to bring them their mail.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like perhaps the jail facility could facilitate that process for the inmates that are in the jail one way or another. I mean, I really don't think a right to vote should be taken away from anybody.
I think that would be the right to get their mail.
European jails,
limited to that.
In European jails, perhaps not in every European country, but in a number of them, they have all their rights, like the right to vote, even when they're serving a serious sentence. Their punishment is the fact that they are, they're stuck in jail.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I constantly preach to my employees is it is not our job to punish. That's the judge's job. The judge gets to make that decision. We're tasked with care, custody, and control while they're, serving time with us. And you have to remember, when I was a young man, a lot of these guys over in jail were guys I grew up with, or, friends and relatives. But now I'm dealing with their children. And a lot of these guys, a lot of them I've known since they were children. These are not terrible, evil people. Believe it or not, we have two different types of people. We've got some real hardcore criminals. I'd say that that's about 4% of what's in jail. We got some lawbreakers. And, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of people out there who occasionally break the law and they've got to serve their time. DUIs are kind of the everyman's crime, if that makes sense. Everybody could be guilty of a DUI with one too many glasses of wine. And we have to remember that. And, then we've got, if I had to guess, I would probably reduce my jail population by 60% if we could simply deal with addictions. And addictions they are so ingrained in so many different types of crimes that people without addictions would never commit them. But the addictions are the driving force. And if we were ever able to get that under control, I imagine that I would reduce populations in the jail from 40 to 60%, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Just to follow up on that, I did in fact find the policy for Mendocino County Sheriff's Office for voting. The policy is that qualified inmates can vote and register to vote in local, state, and federal elections, and that information is available on the canteen kiosk.
Perfect. I'm glad that you read it, because believe it or not, it's hard to memorize all of those.
I would imagine there are a number of policies that are hard to keep track all of at the same time.
Yeah.
So they don't draw a line. If you're a felon, you get the vote still.
No, felons can't. It's only qualified inmates. So if you are currently serving a felony sentence, you cannot vote regardless of what facility you're housed in.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think in California, once you've served your time, even for a felony, then you can vote. It's unlike Florida, for example.
Yeah.
Actually, Florida's changed recently a bit too, but some other states, you lost it forever, which is really crazy.
Well, that's not fair. If you've served your time as a felon, you get back out and you're a good citizen, then you should vote again, be able to vote again.
After you're off parole. If you're on parole, you still can't vote.
Yeah, that's right.
You can petition for your right to vote to be restored by a judge.
So does anybody else have any other questions for me? I think Brent Blazer's on tonight, and I was going to ask him to speak a little bit about fire preparedness and just that ridiculous fire that we had down on the south. It burned all the way to the ocean. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I find that a little mind-boggling.
Yeah. Just like that Myers-Grade fire, what, two years ago?
Yeah, exactly.
Really alarming.
Yeah, that one, Henry, that one burnt to the east from the ocean, right? Because that's where the lightning struck.
Yeah.
Yet the one in Schooner Gulch kind of burned to the west towards Schooner Gulch.
It did. It was really strange.
Because of the wind or whatever. Yeah.
There was a northerly wind that pushed it in that direction rather than towards the homes that were to the east of it. So no were lost. I don't think even buildings were lost on that one. It came close, but nothing was lost in that direction.
Well, are we going to hear from Brent, Sheriff Matt Kendall?
Hey, Brent, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'll even give you the full view. I'm in the car also.
Okay.
No, Sheriff Kendall nails so many things. Just look at the fact that in the last, 4 or 5 weeks, we've had telecommunication outages, we've had power outages, and the next day we got hit with the fire. Bottom line is, if you don't know where you're going to go, if you aren't sure if you're signed up for alerts, if you don't know some basics of who's going to pick up your pet or having their stuff ready, I would really just encourage you to go to mendoready.org and use the resources that are on there to make sure you're registered, to develop a little bit of a family and communication plan. Reach out to your friends of, hey, can I come stay with you if we have to leave for a few hours or a day or two or whatever it might be. Just in the simplest aspects. Of course, with the drought coming and everything too, now's the time to get that home hardening done, to clear that dispensable space, or to put some things in place at the house to help mitigate water usage. There's just a lot to do. And I don't know about you guys, I tend to procrastinate. When it comes to all these events, I would say the sheriff's there's been a couple of things we've kind of put in place. We've, got projects under the grants. And so we've kind of prioritized some of the communication assets. So with the county executive office assistance from Darcy and her team, we're moving a couple things to the forefront, like buying mobile repeaters to help with the communications and the staff in the field. Those are going next month. We actually secured a grant for high frequency radios. That'll be coming to the board to get those purchases done. And then we also did a grant that's another $200,000 for evacuation planning and such. And that's going to really hopefully move us to making our resources online and such stronger, making some mapping products that we can give out to the file wires groups and community groups. And then as a result of that fire last week, not that there was a negative or anything, but on June 16th, I'll be up with my staff to help, Paul from the city of Point Arena. We already scheduled some, a little bit of emergency management training and just kind of breaking out some of the pubs. And he's pulling in the fire chief, and we're going to go over a few things. And that'll be the first training. And then what we'll do is kind of figure out where they're at, do some refresher, and then build out any more training they may want moving forward. And so I just want to now's the time to take some action. And those are some of the things that we're doing to create some change that are kind of behind the scenes that you guys maybe don't see every day. And I believe we have a type of community group meeting later in the month for Gualala. Correct me if I'm wrong, on a Saturday or something like that. We're doing a expo. I gotta look at my calendar, but I believe one of the groups reached out about some type of preparedness activity. So we'll be doing that also. If there's any questions, please just let me know.
Okay, thank you, Brent. Any questions for Brent from the council or anyone else? Okay, well, I guess
thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I guess that concludes our law enforcement.
What about Mr. Kilmer? Does he have anything to say?
Disaster recovery. There he is. Yeah. Okay. I see his name.
I don't actually have anything specific really to say today, and definitely not law enforcement related. The only thing that I could say that would be relevant to the MAC is that the county, so we've been looking at doing some sea level rise resiliency, like coming up with plans for the county. And we did submit like a pre-application for a grant. And today we just heard that we've been invited to submit a full proposal. So we're going to be working on that just to look at sea level rise and how it's going to affect our coast. So that's something that disaster recovery is going to be working on here as we go forward.
Okay.
And Travis is being modest. He's also helping us get ready for a couple of things with fire response when it comes to damage assessments and, a little bit of reentry kit stuff. We have some training internally within the county that, he's been doing and their team to help us get better prepared in the sheriff's department.
Yeah, we've kind of been dusting off the playbooks from last year and seeing where we can improve.
Okay.
All right.
Good to hear from you all. Thank you for your input. Anything else from law enforcement or law enforcement related?
Nope.
Okay.
Just thank you so much for allowing us to be here. You folks take good care.
Thank you for coming in.
Well out there.
Okay.
Please
Thanks for your report, Sheriff Kendall.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll still have a job after next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, I think I will. Take good care, Don. It was good seeing you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet he will. Okay. Then we'll move on here. Permit applications. We have that one item there. THP 1-19-00082 Mendocino. That's an amendment number 7. That's how it's being referred to up in Morrison Gulch, which Tom and I were assigned at last month's meeting. Let me see. I know roughly where that Morrison Gulch area is, roughly at the 9-mile marker. It says 3 miles northwest of Anchor Bay, which, 3.65 miles north of Anchor Bay. Anchor Bay is about 4-something miles north of Gualala. So that comes about right to the 9-mile marker. It's on the east side. That's where there already was a timber harvest plan being done. And I guess this is amendment to that plan. I haven't found it yet on CalTrees, to be quite frank with you, but I know roughly where it's at, and I don't know what the comment period is on this, or how long we still have to review this. Maybe you caught a little bit more, Tom. I remember it's just a little bit south of where we did that, what was it called? Rumbles and Shoulder project. Oh, there's a nice map. Okay, Morrison Gulch. Nice, Tom.
Yeah, I did have a chance to look through the documents on this. I have not been up to the site. And I have really not formulated an opinion on this, but I can tell you what I know about it, and the council can act accordingly to its wishes. Should I go ahead, Robert?
And I just don't, and I don't think we're going to be allowed to go on the site either, Tom. I just don't think so. We can only comment on it from what we can gain knowledge on over the internet, is what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Let me tell you the background on it, and then maybe we can have a council discussion. Does that sound fair?
Sounds fair, yeah.
Okay. So this is a map, and I'll tell you a little bit about the project after we look at the map, and I'll come back to this if you like. Just get to my right screen. It's another map of it. This is the slick rock spawning and rearing map. These shaded areas, I believe, are the spawning areas, and this is the THP area marked with these jagged lines. So you can see here is Morrison Gulch, and down below it is Slick Rock, and the project is between them.
Right.
Here's a letter from the applicant, Zachary Jones of Jones Forestry in Fort Bragg. This is dated April 22nd, 2022. This was amended. The original plan, as noted in this letter, I just wanted to share this with you, was for 90 acres. It was expanded to 170 acres. And the map that I just showed you showed the expanded area. There are additional 3 tractor crossings here over the creek. I don't know what the total number of crossings is. At this time, the botanical surveys were pending, an archaeological survey. I don't know if this has been completed. I assume it has. And when I called CalTrees to find out the status of this, I was told, oh, well, this has already been approved. And I said, really? Because it was just referred to us for comment at the Gualala MAC. And I think this may be another case where we got it after the fact, which disturbs me. And something that I think the council needs to look at on a broader level, not just with county, but now with state applications. Going forward, here's the applicant is, and I have no reason to question this, is saying that there's absolutely no environmental impact from this. However, I will point this out. It is less than a quarter mile inland from the coast. It drains into Morrison Gulch and Slick Rock Creek and is located in the Point Arena Creek watershed. The slopes, it's mostly on the west-facing slopes towards the ocean. Ground elevations varying from 120 to 800 feet above sea level. It's on a gently sloping hillside. I don't know how the slopes are gentle when they vary from 5 to 70%, 90%, 70%. That's pretty steep. Harvest objectives are as follow, and there's all kinds of good reasons: to cut wood, to build houses, to protect wildlife, to let more sunshine into the land, to improve the fire and road trail system, to fix cost of ownership, including but not limited to taxes, insurance, debt service on the loans. I think these are all positive reasons that the applicant has put forth for supporting this project. Here's a list of the estimated number of trees. This is ocular estimates, meaning what it looks like physically, literally. So conifers less than or equal to 11 inches, conifers greater than 11 inches, hardwoods less than 11 inches or greater than 11 inches. There are redwoods, pines, and other firs that are mostly involved here. And they didn't break it down. Oh, the redwood percent pre-harvest 52, post-harvest there will still be 52. I'm not sure why I understand that. So it looks like the conifers they want to do for less than 11 inches would go from 110 down to 80, and the greater than 11, 155 down to 85. It's a select cut plan, which means it's not a total clear cut. Thank you. So that's what I know about it.
Mm-hmm.
This is an 81-page plan. It's available on CalTrees. I'd be happy to send a PDF of it to other council members if they like. I just came across it yesterday for the first time. And I'll just leave the map up there for discussion if you have any questions about that. It seems to me that if I were the city of Point Arena, which I'm not, I might have more to say about this than the Gualala MAC. It's on the far end of our
Tom, I'm not sure why you mentioned that. I'm not sure why you say that because it's south of Iverson, south of Iverson Road, and it's well within our jurisdictional area. So Point Arena Creek isn't anywhere near this. Slick Rock Creek is a creek that originates up towards the top of Iverson Road. Morrison Gulch also originates from south of Iverson Road as it winds up towards Old Stage Road and 10 Mile Road. So
point taken. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying we owned property, or my brother still owns property right at that road that goes back a little bit above the M there on Morrison Gulch. And down by the highway further down.
Okay, down right here.
Yeah, that road that you see there, that dashed road, there's a little black dot there. That's property that we owned way back when. And that's just before the Rumbles and Shoulders project that we did on Highway 1 at the bottom of the index there. You see the sharp turn there on Highway 1?
Yeah.
That's that S turn. Now you got it a little bit too big, but that's that S turn. That's where Walker Gulch goes through underneath the highway right there. And that's another good half mile south of Iverson right there. So that's just a little bit of the geographics around there.
I'll also point out there are temporary crossings marked on this map. These little crosses are crossings of creeks.
When we bought that acreage there back in a little 4-acre piece in 85, 86, this was all beautiful forest on the east side of Highway 1, 1,400 acres, and never to be subdivided, never to be sold. What was told to us by an old-time Berkeley family. And apparently the middle section here where we see this logging plan being, applied for or pushed, that apparently did get sold out. There was a old-time family who just wanted to keep it all together, and somehow something changed there, and I don't know what it is. So somebody's in there for profit and looking to get all the big trees that are on those properties out. So I wouldn't mind seeing that link, Tom. It'll make it a lot easier for me to get onto CalTrees, and whoever else wants that, you could send it to all of us if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can actually send you the PDF. I don't think I have the link anymore, but if you go on to, I think it's caltrees.com and put in the number and just search for the number and search back to 2018, because this is an older application.
Okay.
You will find the PDF yourself, but I could send it to members of the council and we could put that PDF up on our website if people would like to see it.
Good, because I have tried for hours to try and find anything on CalTrees, and I come up empty, and I've been messing around with computers since 1986.
I got you, Pete. I go back to 1980, and I had trouble with it, and I called the Caltrees information number on the Caltrees site, and a very nice fellow helped me find this in about 2 minutes.
Really? Okay. I had trouble too, Melissa. So it's not easy to navigate that Caltrees thing. It's gotten
I have
better.
some questions.
Okay.
Yeah. I may not be able to answer them. I'll tell you that ahead of time.
I want to go back, okay, on that map. I can see where the it looks like on the legend it says Sick Rock.
Slick Rock.
Yeah, I know, but the legend says Sick Rock THP boundary. Anyway, Slick Rock looks like, and Morrison Gulch both look like seasonal creeks.
Yeah.
And according to Fish and Game, you're not allowed to do jack squat to anything within 100 feet of a seasonal creek. And these look like, especially the one on the south, it looks like it goes right up the middle of that seasonal waterway, a sensitive riparian corridor.
Yeah, we'd have to walk it. We'd have to actually get an invitation or ask for an invitation to see it.
And I think the refusal to allow us to walk it is an immediate red flag to say, no, we do not approve of this.
We didn't. I did not ask permission to walk it. I don't know if you did, Robert.
No.
We have not walked the property. We've not requested it. We have not even talked to the applicant. I literally came upon this information yesterday afternoon, and it's 81 pages, and I did my best to digest what I could overnight and get it to you. However, I do not have the answers to your questions. And I do think it would be appropriate to have the applicant comment, as well as anybody in the community who is familiar with the plan and has a comment on it.
Well, we've never really ever walked THPs, you guys. We're going
to have to start. We're going to have to start. We're headed for the driest summer we've had in 1,200 years. We don't need things like this. My next question is, I see the little double dashed line that is the seasonal road, but along that double dashed line, I see little empty circles, but I don't see anything in the legend that says what those are.
Landings.
Even though they're not thick, they don't have thick lines like that. You see the ones I'm seeing right up the middle of the THP point to
one. Right in
here. Those.
Yeah. I think those are landings, which is where they bring the wood to, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
And some of these things in the legend are handwritten, so I think that's why it looks a little different.
Yeah, okay. It wouldn't be ponds. There's not that many ponds on that.
No, there wouldn't be that. They're not big enough for ponds.
No.
Not really.
Doesn't Fish and Wildlife, State Fish and Wildlife, have jurisdiction about them building tractor crossings over seasonal creeks?
I believe they do.
Yeah, they have to. CAL FIRE and the applicant they have to deal with Department of Fish and Wildlife if they're going to get anywhere near even a seasonal creek like Melissa's alluding to. There has to be a setback, and if they're going to cross it, they've got to deal with the Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm pretty positive.
Fish and Wildlife is busy. They don't go looking for this. A citizen has to call and say, "There's a problem. Would you look into it?"
Wouldn't that be our job then?
Yes.
To drop a dime? To ask?
I need to talk to some of the neighbors around there, what they're doing. If you look at where it says Morrison Gulch, further in the middle of the map, Tom, where it says Gulch there, the upper Gulch there's a property right above that. That's a big, what is that? That's an 80-acre piece that happens to be owned by Jim Kugel. Jim Kugel was a former mayor of Point Arena, and I'm sure he's got some concern about what's going on in the Gulch there, not to mention some other property owners. I need to get up to speed from them and see what they have to say about what's happening in their backyard. I'll do that between now and next month.
Yeah, ask them if they've complained to Fish and Wildlife about the encroachment on riparian, sensitive
Melissa,
riparian borders.
Yeah, they were very active when the initial THP was filed, and I lost track of what they were doing, but they were really into the letter writing and talking to the forester, and there was a lot of activity going on at that time. I don't know what's gone on now since this amendment's been filed, but thanks, Tom, very much for giving us these maps to look at firsthand. So I agree with Dan and you, Melissa. We've got to get more involved and see what we can do.
Yep. We've got to save more. I'm reading more and more books about what happens if we lose our forests.
You know, I think this council has repeatedly expressed these kind of concerns. I think it's appropriate to express them tonight. At the same time, out of a sense of due process, I don't think we're ready to take an action on this tonight.
No.
I think it would be appropriate for Robert to speak to landowners he may know in the area and find out what they know about it, what their feelings are about it. There is a part of the application that talks about the requirement to notify residents, and it does indicate that there are residents within 1,000 feet of the project. And I also think the applicant should be notified that we're going to be reviewing it. He was not notified at this time. And perhaps we should table this, and comment period or no comment period, I think we could still investigate this as a council. If it's the council's desire to do so, we can hold this over to the next meeting and gather more information.
Okay.
And look for a walkthrough.
As Robert and Melissa have noted, and I noted, the Caltrees site is easy to use if you know how to use it. This application, I can tell you when you see it, is full of jargon, and there's a lot of stuff that I have no idea what they're talking about. A lot of acronyms that I didn't see a list of acronyms even to explain what they are. So I'd like to send it to the council. I almost did that last night when I found it. And maybe I should have, but I just don't feel like we're ready for action on this tonight. And I have a feeling if this is a matter where there's going to be further deliberation on it with Fish and Game or any other agency or the public, it's a matter that's not going to be closed before our next meeting.
So I would tend to agree. Let's table it. Are we all okay with that?
Can I ask one extra question?
Sure.
The statement that there would be no environmental impact, with the origin of that statement, is that the applicant?
Yes.
And do you know if they had any outside involvement in reaching that conclusion, or it's okay if you don't? I just am curious if you have that answer.
No. There is a voluminous file, in addition to the 81-page document I'll send you, there is a voluminous file of what's been filed on this over the past couple of years. There must be conservatively 50 or 80 documents in there. In the original version of the plan, modifications, comments, other research. I honestly just didn't have time to pour through it all in overnight. Yeah. It must be, guessing for the size of this one, it must be well over 1,000 pages.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why there are people who are employed to review that kind of documentation. It's not reasonable to ask you to pour through 1,000 pages of documents for what is ultimately not your job.
We barely have the qualifications to review it.
I didn't feel qualified to review it myself. So
anyway, thank you. I just was wondering if you.
Sure. Let me get Dan, I don't have your email. Could you share that with me? Unmute yourself first.
I sent it.
Yeah, dlewis925 at AOL.com.
Dan Lewis 925.
D Lewis.
What's that?
DLEWIS 925 at AOL.com.
Dan, how about if you use chat and send that email to all of us, because we're all going to need your email address.
Yeah, Dan sent it. Dan did send his contact information to me, and I passed it on to Mary. So I think Mary's going to probably update our list, I would think, with Dan's information. Aren't you, Mary?
I would be happy to send Dan's information on. Yes.
Okay. Why don't you do that to us?
Okay.
I have yet to be able to work on the contact list, and
Okay.
doing the county contacts is very convoluted. I have no idea where on the county website or anything I go to find any of those contact information.
Mary, would you just forward Dan's information then that I sent to you, to the council members? Okay.
Yes, I would be happy to do that. No problem.
That'll take care of that, and then we don't have to do.
And maybe the first page of the contact list, but a lot of it I still don't have some people's addresses and things like that. So if you could send that to me, I would really glad to update it. After I send it to you, you can see what's wrong with it, and then update me, and I'll update it.
Yeah, let's just forward Dan's information for now to the council members.
Happy to.
Okay, so do we need to do anything on this? Do we need to take a vote on tabling this till next month?
It would be better if you do so, yes.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to table this Slick Rock THP until next month?
I will make the motion.
I didn't hear that. Who was making that motion?
It's Tom.
Tom, you're very faint all of a sudden. Okay, can somebody second that motion?
Second.
Okay, Henry second. We'll take a vote on that. Melissa?
I'll abstain. I think we should jump on it more quickly than that. It's getting to be summer, but I'll abstain.
Well, we need to table it, and then we can get more information on it. That's all we're voting on.
I know.
You're abstaining. Henry?
Yeah.
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Tom? And that was an aye?
Yes.
And Robert? Aye. Okay, 4 ayes and an abstain. We'll revisit this next month. Okay, on to council matters, number 7. Is there any old business that we need to cover? Nothing.
Flower Park?
Yeah, Robert, I just have one comment. We could take this screen off, can't we now?
Yeah.
Okay. Old business that's not currently on the agenda. Okay.
Yeah, all I want to say is I'm retracting the apology I made last month because I thought mistakenly that I was responsible for sending that letter regarding our council action related to the AT&T cell tower. That was not my responsibility, as it turned out. It was others' responsibility.
Oh,
I just want to make that clear publicly.
Okay.
And I did see your note about that, Don. I did draft a letter and shared it with Melissa. I think that was the intent, that I was going to work with Melissa on drafting a letter. So that's where it's at. I was not part of that deliberation, but I did draft a letter.
I haven't seen a draft. What are you talking about? I wasn't here. I mean, I wasn't at the meeting. I was here.
No, it was 2 months ago. When we voted on the cell tower, and I think you were opposed to it, and Don was in favor of it. And you were going to contact the council, the commission, or the county, and you said you weren't familiar with how to do that, and I offered to help you with that. So I sent you a draft letter.
I don't remember.
Okay. Well, it's moot now. The tower was approved by the planning commission in between.
That's the Anderson Tower, right? We're talking about,
right?
Or
yeah.
Okay.
The superfluous tower.
Yeah, it was approved. The planner in question did not know about GMAC's stance on the issue, and the commission, according to him, I think this is Mr. Gronendijk. According to him, the commission approved it as what they call as monopines. Well, you may remember back in the hearings, AT&T said they couldn't build a monopine that was that tall. So my suspicion is that it actually ended up being about 10 feet shorter and convert it to a monopine. Visual impact was not a question that the council decided was an important issue, as I recall. We were more concerned about the overlapping service area, the radiation involved in it, even though we're not supposed to consider radiation. And I told Mr. Keith Gronendijk that about the recent court decision we discussed, in which an appeals court judge said, yes, the FCC really needs to develop new regulations since those haven't been updated since the 90s. And he's going to look into that, but that was not particular to that case. So in the future, we may have new regulations about what we can consider, but right now, radiation was not something we could consider. So our council voted by one vote against it, but the commission voted to approve the tower.
Okay, thanks for that update, Tom.
That's all according to my memory, which is a little fuzzy at this point because it's a couple of months ago, but I can tell you I did draft a letter.
The bottom line is this is the way the Planning Commission works, correct? They take any advice that they receive from entities like us, and then they review the project, and they can approve or disapprove based on other factors that we may or may not have considered. So they do not necessarily vote the same way that we would vote. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That's correct. Regardless of what we may advise or recommend, they will go forward with making their own recommendation, is what I've found over all the years.
And by the way, I did follow up with Keith and sent him the draft letter and explained to him the situation with the council, just in case it comes up in the future, or in case there's another tower in the Gualala area so that he could better understand why we oppose this. The reasons for our opposing was feeling that this tower didn't deliver enough, and saying that we really wanted to see a better service plan that would cover downtown area and include more of the Gualala area, because our citizens do need broadband access. They do need better phone reception, and we would support a tower or a series of towers that would provide that. This one basically overlapped mostly with the existing service areas. It was also a 4G tower, and we made the point that the world is moving to 5G, as everybody who has a TV set knows. We'd like to know why we're not being included in 5G plans. So there were a couple of grounds for consideration there, and I passed those along to Keith Gronendijk, and as well as noting that it was by a close one vote margin that we voted against the tower.
Okay.
Is there Bower Park report?
Yeah. Any other old business that we're going to deal with? Otherwise, we will move on to Parks Committee. Yeah. Go ahead, Henry. Sorry.
So I wonder if we think that Kevin might still join, if we want to go out of order here and have that be the last of the council matters that we address, just to give him a chance to get on. I'm happy to give an update from my side. He's got some things going on that I think he would be better positioned to explain, but I don't know how people want to handle that.
I'd say just let's go forward with the agenda. Just take your input, Henry, for now. And if he joins us, if he doesn't join us, then he can give it to us next month, I guess.
Okay. So from my end, I got a status update, such as it is, from Janelle Rao at General Services Agency. So she said they had broken the tree work into two phases. One of them was the work that got done in March and April, I think. And then the other is ongoing now. They've been working on it for, I think, the past couple of weeks. She said they're hoping that the tree work will get done next week, but it might be the week after. And so that's the tree work. She said they also did the work to rehab the caretaker facilities. Mm-hmm. But she shared with me the parks needs assessment, which, sorry, let me pull it up right now. I don't know if it would make sense for me to share this. Maybe that's worth doing.
Okay.
Is that, sorry, let's see, do I have, yeah, I guess I have the ability to do that. Sorry, it's pulling up right now, loading slowly. Okay, let me do it over here. Oh my goodness, I have a lot of windows and it's not showing me. Here, let me, sorry. Well, sure, I'll give the update as I'm figuring this part out. So the tree work is supposed to get done by next week. She said the only other thing that's planned beyond the facility repair that they've done is to remove some stumps and potentially to replant some of the trees that they've pulled out. But what's not clear to me is what's going to happen at the end of that, because basically there's a lot of money that's needed for parks across the county. They've listed many different things that are critical. Sorry, I'm having trouble actually managing to share this, but
Henry, do you know who's doing the tree work up there?
I don't know who's doing the tree work. I think it's ongoing right now, okay. But I don't know the company that's doing it.
Okay, and then what's going to happen with all the wood?
I don't know that either.
Okay.
Is that is there a particular reason? I mean, I'm happy to reach out again to try to find that out.
I'm just curious. Usually they like you see a lot of times on the highway, there'll be people that will collect the wood that Caltrans leaves in their certain easement areas, and it's pretty much donated to the public, or local people will remove it. I don't know, maybe they have a way. Sometimes they chip it all up. I mean, if it's big logs, if it's not really usable anymore, then they'll probably do away with it. But a lot of times I'll see locals that will do that work for them by just taking it home or doing whatever with it. Maybe having some.
Senior Center has been donated lots of cords of wood for senior citizens who need it and cannot split or do wood. So that's another place where it could be donated. Exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't Lions Club do that? They split the wood up there in the RCRC property. Yeah. They've got an area over there where they cut up trees that they get from Bauer and people, and then they provide it to seniors.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
Kevin's involved with that too. I know.
Yeah, Kevin might have a better sense of that. I have no notion of what's going on. But Robert, would you like me to follow up with Janelle Round, find out?
Just curious, yeah. If you happen to think of it, I was more interested in seeing that map that you were maybe going to put up.
Oh, so it's not a map. It's a document. I'm sorry. Okay, let's just see. I don't know if I'm about to share the right Chrome screen, so I guess we'll find out.
I thought maybe you had some kind of a Bauer Park map that was showing the areas they were removing the trees or something like that. No, okay.
It's not a map. It's a sorry. I'll show you. It's a chart of all of the work that's necessary.
Oh, okay.
All of the work that's necessary to that's like the needs for the various parks. And so I'm going to go ahead and just share a Chrome screen, and we will see if it's the right one. I have to do security. Does anybody know? Is there a way to just pull a document in rather than sharing a screen? It's asking me to change settings, system settings. So it's just taking me a moment. I haven't shared a screen in Zoom before, I don't think.
I mean, it's not absolutely necessary.
Sorry, and that's saying I would have to quit and reopen Zoom in order to share it. why don't I, you know what, I
just talk about the needs assessment a little.
Okay, great. So there's hazardous tree removal, 175,000, and they've done about half of that. There's hazardous tree removal phase 1, which was done before, 64,000. They've done all of that. Spillway repair is listed as, those are both priority 1. Priority 2, you've got spillway repair, which I know Kevin had talked a little bit about with me, which is listed as a critical safety issue. There's no money applied for that. That's 142,000. Demo community room, priority 3, 75,000, not a safety issue. The basketball court and the tennis court and the parking lot all need to be resurfaced. Basketball and tennis are considered priority 1.5 and critical safety issues. They are between them 215,000, nothing's allocated for that. 75,000 for the parking lot, priority 3, but also listed as critical safety. So I don't understand that piece of it. No money's allocated for that. Cleanup caretaker area, priority 1.0, 146,000, that's been done. Repair the amphitheater, priority 2, 45,000, critical safety, no money allocated for that. Drainage from ball field, widen and pave road from ball field, and ADA development throughout the park are all priority 3. And it's between them 270,000, not critical safety, nothing attached. Replace water piping is 2.0, 75,000, critical safety issue. Electrical throughout the park is priority 1.5 and a critical safety issue. I'm not sure why that is a priority 1.5, though I have asked. That's 75,000, nothing is allocated. And fire fuel mitigation route work, which is, I believe, already planned, but not allocated. That's removing the stumps. That is priority 1.0 and 20,000 and considered critical safety. So I have asked, but I've yet to receive a response so the only things that are priority 1.0 are either done or planned, and that's the tree removal and the stump removal and the cleanup caretaker area. So that's been either done or is planned. And what I'm trying to figure out is they have a bunch of other critical safety issues listed, like the tennis court, the parking lot, the amphitheater, the basketball court. So those seem like, even if they're critical safety issues for those areas, what's not clear to me is, do those things need to all get done to reopen parts of the park? And that's an open question. I've yet to hear back from Ms. Rao about it. Hoping to get more updates soon on that. It may be that they still are going to wait to do this like safety assessment after the tree work is done, which was kind of their answer before. The tree work I had hoped would be done by now. But on the other hand, if it really is next week or the week after, that's sort of better than it could have been. So I'm going to attend the budget workshop meetings on the 7th and 8th. I also emailed with Supervisor Williams about that. He said, as far as he can tell, the council is split on parks funding. He is in favor, but he said he can't predict the votes. I will go attend as much of that as I am able to, and add the voice of the ad hoc parks committee to that, to encourage them to pay for it long term, and to at least pay for all of the critical things that they have listed here. Unfortunately, it's a lot of money across all of the county parks. I think Bauer is I'm not even sure it's the most. There's a lot of problems with county parks from deferred maintenance over a long period of time, but the priority 1.0 work is $826,000 in total, and the priority 1.5 work is $900,000 or $895,000 in total. Unless they apply the American Recovery Plan funding to that, I think it's very unlikely that the county is going to fund it. That big block of money from the American Recovery Plan is still really opaque to me. I'm hoping that I can get more insight on the June 7th and June 8th budget workshops. But right now, I don't have as much of an update as I'd like. I've asked for them to just give me something that I can tell people of, here's how to manage your expectations. It's 3 months since the park closed suddenly, and we have no visibility essentially into when or whether they're going to reopen this park. I've asked, but I don't have satisfactory answers yet. I'm hoping I can get more at the 7th and 8th meetings.
So the park is completely closed. I heard from somebody, I don't know if it was Mary or somebody, that they will still allow the baseball teams to play at the baseball park.
Oh, well, I didn't say that. No.
You didn't say that? No. Okay.
No, I hadn't.
I don't think so.
I have
It's
no
going to
idea.
be complete. No. Okay. I'm sorry, Mary, but it's going to be, Bauer Park is still going to be completely closed for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely closed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I went there to try to get a sense of it myself. I saw that some tree work had been done. I saw that some trees had been tagged with what looked like removal instructions. Just, I mean, it's spray paint, but from what I guessed, seeing the trees that were tagged and the ones that weren't. But everything still says closed. There's yellow tape that's on stuff, but all of the yellow tape has been cut. Obviously, people are using the park. That's probably not safe, but that's the reality of it. Is that yellow tape's been cut down. Yeah. The play structures have clearly been used. Like the park is closed as far as they're concerned. As far as their liability is concerned, maybe that's enough. But from a public safety perspective, like people are using the park. Yeah. So if they consider it not to be safe, then leaving it closed is not actually resolving the public safety issue.
They'd need enforcement, and they're not going to enforce stuff.
Certainly no budget for that.
No,
but it's incredibly hazardous, that spillway pit in the pathway. Somebody's going to break a leg in there fairly soon, I would think, if they're using the park, especially in the dark.
Wow.
It kind of sounds like that we need more clarification as to what additional aspects of this project need to be completed before they actually open the park back up. We don't really have good insight into that yet. The fact that the trees are going to be cut down relatively soon apparently does not mean that the park will be reopened. And as far as these trees go, I really would hate to see the county remove these trees off site and haul them away somewhere. I think that the trees can be converted to firewood and used locally. And I think that's the best ecological use of trees, is to use them locally and not to haul them away somewhere and create carbon emissions just hauling trees, which are very heavy.
The best ecological use would be to chip them and drop them where the trees are, not burn them and add more carbon to the atmosphere.
Chipping will create carbon emissions eventually.
Not as much, it won't cause the particulate smoke, which is so damaging to people's lungs.
Except there are a number of people in this area, myself included, Robert, I think too,
yes,
who use firewood. We don't use gas. We don't use gas. We use firewood to heat our homes. So that's not going to change overnight.
No, but
so
you can keep these trees from being burned.
Anyway, I stated what I wanted to say.
Do try and let the parks people know that if they put out a request for volunteers, then I am sure that there would be volunteers from the Little League people, from the school parents, from service clubs, from businesses who may want to donate material, etc. And that Gualala has a long history of volunteerism regarding all sorts of projects, from the theater, the library, Gualala Arts, RCRC, please let them know that there would be a cadre of people up there trying to open that park and get it to where their kids can get there and play.
Yeah, so I think this is where I wish Kevin were available to speak to his side of it, because I think he's somewhat informally, I'm sort of more on the trying to get, figure out what's going on with the county and get the county to do the work that they really should do, because they're responsible for the park. It's a county park. They have at least implicit responsibility for maintaining it, which they've dodged for decades. Whereas Kevin is more pursuing an attempt to get around / away from the county in order to maintain the park longer term. I know when we had talked about volunteer efforts to get the park reopened sooner, their perspective was, well, with the tree work necessary, people can't even go in there, and it is too hazardous for volunteers. Once the trees are cleared out, maybe they'll be more receptive, and I will broach that subject at the June 7th and 8th budget workshop meeting, and you know, if it seems like the money's not going to be forthcoming, try to get a foot in the ground on that. But I know Kevin has been talking with Supervisor Williams about the possibility of a special benefit assessment, what the boundaries would look like, how many voters would be involved, try to get help with setting up something such that we as a community could pursue it independent of the county. That seems like it's still early phases, but he has been getting some information back. There's a certain amount of acronyms and jargons that I couldn't completely follow. I'm hoping to, that Kevin and I will follow up on that next week. But for now, I don't feel entirely qualified to explain what is brewing on his side.
No, but at any rate, they're going to be still cutting down trees for the next month, right? Or weeks to come.
They're hoping. Janelle Ross said, hopefully next week, maybe the week after, the tree work should be done. That's for cutting down trees. They're still removing stumps and maybe planting new trees, but I don't get the sense that should be the same level of urgency as removing the hazardous trees. Right. So, but hoping they'll tell me what they really need to do to reopen parts of it.
Mm-hmm. But between now and next month's meeting, we'll hope to have both you and Kevin give us a further update at next month's meeting, and when Kevin's back, and we'll hear the other part of the presentation. How's that?
Yeah, absolutely. And do people want me to send an incremental update after the budget workshop meetings? That'll be next Tuesday and Wednesday, or wait till the next council meeting.
Next council meeting. I think
next council meeting. Okay, great.
Fine, yeah. Unless you want to write us a short email, but you don't need to. Okay.
Robert?
Yeah.
Would it be stepping on toes if I volunteered to be on the park committee?
Well, we can have up to 3 council members, I believe, with a 7 council member board. So if you'd like to, yeah.
Okay, put me down if it's okay with Henry and Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah, fine by me. I can't imagine Kevin would object, but I shouldn't speak for him.
Yeah, I should just note that our bylaws do allow up to 3 members of a committee. However, they also allow for the chair, and I believe the vice chair, I'm not sure, certainly the chair, to sit in on any committee meeting. If Robert were to sit in on a committee meeting that had 3 people in it, it would create a quorum, and that would risk a Brown Act violation. So I'll just ask you to keep that in mind. Now, that said, anybody could sit in on a committee meeting if it's publicly announced, but it's participation in the discussion where you would cross the line on Brown Act. If Robert came just to observe and didn't say anything, he would not be violating the Brown. That's my understanding. And I've been at meetings where a quorum of the Board of Supervisors was present, but they didn't participate in the meeting beyond maybe asking a question or answering a question that was extraneous to the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we can take
and
go ahead.
Last note on that is that I shared in the chat a link to the document that I was trying to share on my screen and couldn't manage to do it despite being a software engineer. So not great by me.
Okay, you guys are amazing. All of you. Okay, why don't we conclude the Parks Committee update and then go on to GCAP Committee update. Tom and we just met briefly this past month. We don't have a whole lot to give you. Tom, anything you want to say? Other than we're trying to get some kind of response from the California Coastal Commission, right?
We're expecting a response. The Coastal Commission told us most recently that they were going to be meeting with Caltrans staff and would get back to us. I've queried the Coastal Commission to see if they've had that meeting yet. I have not had a reply. MCOG at its last meeting said they were going, Chairman Jurdy, Supervisor Jurdy, was going to discuss this with staff to see if it would be appropriate for MCOG to take this on as an action item. We have not heard from Supervisor Jurdy about that. And it is, I just checked, Robert, it is not on the agenda for next Monday's meeting. I have written to MCOG asking that Robert and I have access to the meeting to participate in the discussion if there is one, explaining the situation briefly. Robert, you're copied on that email. I just sent it a little while ago.
Okay.
My expectation is that the only place it could come up on the agenda on Monday would be under the Caltrans District 1 item. However, that is specified as a non-action item. It is only a report from Caltrans to talk about the projects going on in their district. Last month, I used that opportunity to make a comment saying that we had asked MCOG more than a year before to take some action on this, and they had not taken any action. And that's when Supervisor Jurdy said he would meet with staff and consider whether they could take an action in their June meeting. So at the very least, we'll find out what happened to that discussion. I have a feeling I know, but we'll show up Monday if we can. Robert and I are just crazy busy right now, but we're both trying to get to that meeting on Monday to see what's going to happen. Or get more information. And of course, we'll report back to the council when we know something. Unfortunately, I think, the general response I keep getting from MCOG, from Caltrans, from everybody is that there's nobody assigned to this anymore. There's no director assigned to it. The staff is extremely busy and has a limited budget. And that there's no threat that this project will fall off the time schedule unless they don't get funding. So all that said, my response to that was, well, if they have a really crunched budget and not enough staff, this is something they could take off the table because the town's already decided on this. We've had 3 town meetings in 3 years. We don't need a 4th meeting at 4 years. The town has come out 22 to 1 in favor of a ratio of 22 to 1 in favor of going ahead with alternative 4A and scuttling alternative 4C. So MCOG's well aware of our interest in this. I think we're at the point of pestering them, and it's time for them to say something.
The other thing was that MCOG has requested a letter of support from GMAC as they go forward with another round of their ATP grant application. So I'll be forwarding a similar or the same copy of the letter we submitted last year from GMAC. And we'll see how strong their grant application is this year, because they were working on a lot of things themselves, MCOG, on how to make the grant stronger. But the input from us is virtually the same.
The ATP program is the Alternative Transportation Plan, our program. Right. I just wanted to mention that because the acronym can throw people.
Sorry.
If they don't get the idea here is that the Gualala streetscape would add sidewalks, let people walk around town instead of drive. It would allow bicyclists to use bike lanes a little bit more safely, especially our visitors who are coming down the coast, but also encourage people in town, like me, to ride your bike to the post office or to the market if you need something quick. You don't have to hop in a car and pay $6.50 a gallon for gas to go pick up your mail. So I think there's good reason to use ATP money for this. However, if there is no ATP money, as Governor Newsom pointed out a couple of years ago, Caltrans has a $24 billion budget and has plenty of money to promote these programs in communities where they're wanted, and they are wanted in Gualala. So if it doesn't come out of ATP, I think one of the things the committee can do is push to get money from other sources. And of course, MCOG would pursue that. It's not something really.
Okay, we lost you, Tom. Anyway,
excuse me, Robert.
Yes,
is there any update on the GCSD at all?
Not presently, no.
I
know that was in the meeting minutes that I was going to bring an update to the council, and we didn't even put it on the agenda. So I'm still going to try to do that. Thank you for reminding me. I'll make a note of that.
I thought it might go under old business because it was kind of under old business last month, but I thought I would just mention it to inquire because we were going to send us a questionnaire of some kind regarding their expansion into sections 3 and 4 or
zone 3 and zone 4. Yeah, I was going to follow up on that, Mary. I didn't, but let me see what I can do before next month's meeting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up. You back, Tom? Let's conclude the GCAP committee update, and we'll move on to. We shouldn't have too much on these other ones today, so we should be able to get through the rest of our meeting rather quickly here. But housing and economic development, Tom, anything on that tonight? Somehow we lost Tom, I think.
I think he just came back.
He disappeared and he's come back.
Okay.
He's muted right now.
Okay, so hearing nothing on housing and economic development, Tom, we will move on to electric vehicle charging station. Anything on that this month, Don?
You're muted.
You're muted, Don.
Don.
Hi, I just got back on.
Okay, sorry about that.
Hang on just a moment. I'll try to get fully back on. Oh, there's my gorilla.
All right.
Want to go back to the housing committee report then?
Yeah, let me just say this. I was really afraid I just ended the meeting by getting cut off. This has never happened before. But I'm glad to see the meeting went on without me. That's very reassuring.
No, although you should know, Travis became the host in your absence.
Really?
Yes.
Fair.
He may or may not have been aware of that.
Well, Travis would do a fine job, I'm sure. The recording is still going. I'm back, and basically I did not have anything with the housing committee report tonight anyway.
Okay.
Donna and I ought to talk about this, about what to do in the case that the meeting that I'm lost or that needs a new host, because apparently nobody was able to unmute themselves except me because I was the host. So nobody would have been able to be heard for a while.
Well, the symbols show that we were unmuted, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, if you were unmuted, but if you had muted yourself, I got a notification that only the host can unmute you. So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what Zoom told me when I was off.
Yeah, but
anyway, I don't know what happened there. I just lost my bandwidth.
Yeah, I think what just happened for me is I was muted and then I unmuted myself while you were disconnected, I believe. So,
yeah.
I think it's all
Okay,
just
good. That's
the
good to
meeting
hear.
is in the cloud, basically, once you start it. So yeah, the original host can be cut off and the meeting continues. So
Well, that's good.
I
Good,
was-
good little experiment there.
yeah, right.
I was watching and Tom had already come back on my screen when you unmuted yourself, Don.
Okay, yeah, the timing might have been close for that, but
Close.
we would have to experiment to see if that's really true, whether people can't unmute themselves. I would
Well,
find
I tried to unmute myself when I came back and I couldn't unmute myself, and it said only the host can unmute you.
It's way too technical for me. If it weren't for you guys, I'd be lost totally.
Yeah, but the setting you have for the meeting, Tom, is that participants can unmute themselves, correct? I mean,
yes, but I was a participant at that point and I couldn't unmute myself.
Oh.
And it said only the host can unmute you. So it might have appointed another host. Maybe it was Travis. I don't know.
It may have just been a problem that showed up on your system.
Travis, did it tell you you were host?
You know, I didn't notice if it did.
I don't know. I don't know who
It definitely said
host
you were
when
the
I
host.
left, but somebody was.
Yeah. Okay, so Tom, did you establish anybody as a co-host?
No, I don't think I did tonight. Let me see.
Okay, I think
generally speaking, you are designated as a co-host. You're authorized as a co-host.
That should be done for every meeting, that there should be at least one other co-host, I believe.
That makes sense. And it should always be Travis.
Yeah, I think Travis makes a good co-host.
Yeah. Oh, force him to attend all our meetings.
He comes anyway.
Hey, perfect attendance as long as I've been here.
Yeah, he's perfect attendance. Glad to have you here, Travis. Don't let him kid you.
Okay, folks.
Let's stop picking on Travis.
Let's
let's get on with the meeting. He did a great job.
Let's move on to item E, which is the electric vehicle charging station update from Don.
Yeah, okay. As I started to say, I don't have a whole lot of new news other than I was in contact with Janet Orth of MCOG, and she was in a meeting with some Caltrans people about this very subject a short while back, and which was specifically about both Caltrans and the California Energy Commission receiving federal monies in the millions of dollars for national, what they call NEVI, National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure. In this case, it would be for California. But so there was a slideshow that they had, and I'll show you some of it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Let's see. That didn't work.
Don, it said you were trying to share.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Oh, you can see that?
Yeah, NEVI.
Okay. Anyway, basically, this is from the infrastructure bill they passed last year, I believe. Fills gaps in the corridors to establish a network of publicly available electric vehicle chargers. And California should be getting $384 million over 5 years. And that's not chump change. That can install lots and lots of fast chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the key here, though, is corridors. That's what I'm taking from this slideshow. So if you're on one of these designated corridors, then you've got a good chance to apply for some funding for charging stations. So let's look at where they are, the corridors.
Highway 1.
Okay, yep, Highway 1 is there.
Because there's one down in Sea Ranch and there's one up at Point Aria. We're an empty spot in the corridor.
Well, notice here the color scheme here. So blue is less than 25 miles where there might be a charging station. Yellow is greater than 25 miles. And they want charging stations, fast chargers, no greater than every 50 miles apart. So if we look at this map, it looks like it goes, blue goes up to about Bodega Bay. Wouldn't you say that's Bodega Bay right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So from Bodega Bay all the way up to what, Westport?
Looks like.
Yeah. Any charging stations are greater than 25 miles. As a matter of fact, the only fast charging stations that I am aware of on this whole segment, this whole corridor, is in Fort Bragg, and that's a Tesla fast charging station, which can't be used by any vehicles other than Tesla.
And that's at the Harvest Market, right?
And exactly, that's at the Harvest Market. I think that was put in last year.
A whole bunch of them that you never see anybody using.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I was there once. I think I saw maybe 4 or 5, but there seemed to be like 12. 12.
I go to the Harvest Market regularly, and they could have spread them out a little bit down this way.
Yeah, they could have, except, the Tesla stations, and they're not going to be, this money is not going to go to Tesla specific charging stations.
Okay.
It will be for probably CCS and CHAdeMO, which are more generic. And even a Tesla can use the generic stations, the more standardized stations that will likely be funded through this program. Mm-hmm. So anyway, as Janet pointed out to me, this is a really good indicator that they've already specified Highway 1 as a corridor. Mm-hmm. And if you're not on a corridor, chances are you're not going to be able to get funding. So this is key. This is a key first step. We're on the corridor. Other than that, we just have to wait until both Caltrans and the Energy Commission come up with the programs. They have to design a program, kind of like they've done in the past, which establishes application criteria. And then you, as an applicant, of course, you have to fulfill all these criteria in order to qualify for the funding, which would be 80% funding. Minimum 20% will have to be paid by either the property owner or the charging station company, like ChargePoint, if they're going to manage it. So it's not 100% funding, but 80% is pretty darn good. So, at this point, we have to wait to see what programs, matter of fact, the programs have to be submitted to the federal government, the state programs, in August. And I'm confident that California will, easily meet that deadline, because the California Energy Commission, not so much Caltrans, but the CEC has been doing this, for the past couple of years. So that's pretty much where we're at on the charging station.
Okay, Don. Good. Hopefully that'll move forward, and we'll have a site. It's for private people primarily, right?
Well, these monies can be applied for by either private entities like a, shopping center owner, yeah, or by public entity, probably like a county or a city, for example, also, or by charging companies like ChargePoint, who would then, run and operate, the facility.
Okay. I just keep on coming back to a public location, which is what we'd really like to find.
Now, one of the stipulations for these programs will be that it has to be publicly available charging stations.
Okay. So maybe there's no need for that public site anymore at the south end of town like we've been working on.
No, we still need a site, whether the site be on public property or private property.
Right.
Is kind of irrelevant. I mean, we need a site, but once there is a site, whether it is on private property or public property, that charging station has to be publicly available.
I get you. Okay. So we can
for anybody to drive up and charge.
Right. Okay. So it'll behoove us to continue to talk to those property owners too that we've talked about in the past.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the community center.
Yeah, whoever that is.
Okay. There could be an option there too, but given the fact that what they're focusing on is fast chargers, because that's really what's going to help take off and support the use of electric vehicles.
Right.
Because, there is level 2 charging, which is, 240 volts. That can give you about 20 miles or so of range in 1 hour of charging. But, people are going to want a lot more if they got to sit around for an hour, and hopefully they won't want, they don't want to sit around for an hour, maybe a half hour, right. And then they want to be on their way again. So that's why they're focusing on fast charger sites. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly, they're going to require a minimum 4 chargers per site, which I think is good.
Yeah, it makes most sense convenience-wise. Okay, Dawn, thanks again for that update.
I understand that a new international standard has come out for charging stations, and it is not the Tesla charger. And Tesla has come out and said that next year they will equip all their cars to be able to apply to this international standard that Europe has already adopted and the United States is about to adopt. So I'm sure that these stations—
called CCS. Certain vehicles already use CCS for fast charging. Others don't. Teslas don't.
Yes.
But I think you could get an adapter for Tesla.
Yes. It's just that I'm hoping that these will be with that standard, because it's internationally, it will be internationally.
They will guaranteed they will support that standard.
Good.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Should we move on, folks? Okay, we will.
Report, Don.
Yeah, Don, thank you very much. Telecommunications Committee, anything on that?
I'll take that. Sad to say, we had a whopping 18 views of our last meeting. Our ratings have been falling. And I think it's basically, we have shorter meetings. There's not as much exciting stuff on the agenda. The last really big one we had was Streetscape, and Streetscape before that. And then before that, the tower was a big one. Had over 100 views on that. But in the last few months, we just haven't been on some hot issues. But it is good to know that there's another 18 people that took the time to watch our meetings. I think the supervisors are one of them. Some of them, county planners often watch our meetings to see what we do on items. So it's worthwhile doing this, especially when we do have big items. Oh, the other thing that draws a lot of people still is the sheriff's report. Sometimes when the sheriff has really big news, the Redbeard guy was a big item. But otherwise, if it's routine stuff, not so much. Anyway, that's all I have for that. Dawn, I'd like to have a meeting with you this month to talk about backup plans for our meetings, and maybe alternate hosting this a bit more. Make sure you got the right same password I do and all that. We haven't done that in a while, and it's worthwhile to have a review, I think.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that. Sure, Tom.
Great.
Have a fire drill.
Yeah.
By the way, can I swing back to charging stations just for a second?
Certainly, Don.
This is a question. Right. This is a question for Travis. Travis, you were mentioning a couple of months ago that the county was applying for the grant money to establish fleet charging stations. Were they successful in that?
So we haven't actually gotten a final determination yet. We're supposed to be getting that like in the next couple of weeks. It's supposed to be in June that they announce if we got it or not.
Okay.
Speaking of revisiting, I would like to bring up the point that I didn't remember at the time. But one of our objections to the cell tower was that it's really high fire season and it's unmanned, and they can throw sparks and start fires. That's it.
How does a cell tower throw sparks?
Because they've got a generator. They've got a diesel generator. Diesel or liquid propane, I don't remember which. I think diesel. Anyway, it's a fire hazard. It's a known fire hazard. And
that was brought up at the time. Okay.
Yep.
Can we go on now to the next agenda item, which is 7G, the Water Ad Hoc Committee? That's Dawn and I. And you weren't at last month's meeting, Melissa, but we did present the council with a lot of the responses, or all the responses that we received from the North Gualala Water Company on the questions that we posed to them. And there's still questions out there, and the biggest one being Dawn and I had a short meeting this month, but about grants availability for a private water company. And that still seems to be a big hurdle. We've had intermittent rains, or we've had some good storms, and then we've had some at least keeping us moist and wet storms here lately, and we might have some more coming up here pretty quick. But we're still very low on the river. I did a quick check on the USGS website, and we're here. It's just starting June. We're down to 10.7 cubic feet per second flow. I can very likely see that getting down to like what it was last year, below 1 cubic foot per second. If you all remember, August, September, whenever it was. So, Dawn and I keep talking about how we really need to be able to store water when the flows are happening, like similar to the Sea Ranch, what they thought about a long time ago.
I have a question.
Why, sure.
Why can't we convert the GCSD from the Gualala Community Sewer District to the Gualala Community Services District and transfer our water company from a private company to a public company and have it come under the GCSD?
Well, I'm sure that
then we could get a grant to have a reservoir built.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And it's been talked about for a long time. If our local water company were a public agency, like under the GCSD, which is the Gualala Community Services District, Services District from the get-go, it's been the GCSD. Everybody tends to call it the Gualala Community Sewer District, but it's a services district. It was.
I know, but that's all it does is the sewer, because they.
Right. We would need to expand that district or expand the services that they provide. They've had their hands full with sewer for ever since I was on the GCSD. Since we took beneficial occupancy to the sewer plant back in 1992. So
let's do that with the water.
We talked about bringing some of the reclaimed water back across the bridge to Gualala to help people with beneficial uses so that we could save potable water. We've talked about a lot of that stuff, and maybe it's time to revisit all that with the GCSD again. Melissa, I agree. Try Well, Don, what do you think? Do you think we could ever get the Gualala, the North Gualala Water Company to become a public agency?
I have no idea, whether that's possible.
You had to,
Perhaps one option is for the GCSD on its own, to create a reservoir and then sell that water or make the water available, to North Gualala, to its customers.
What kind of water?
There may be a couple different approaches to getting a reservoir, which does not necessarily mean making the water company public, although,
okay,
that is potentially an option, and how that would happen, I have no idea.
the same way we got the sewer public. You're going to have to fight to do it.
Yeah,
you know that.
It may require a vote of the people, and it requires money, funding.
How'd we get the sewer? How'd y'all get the sewer system public?
The sewer system was a grant. It was a Clean Water Act grant from the federal government back at that time when those grant programs existed. The community came up with its 10% share of that, which was an assessment district that we assessed the local people in the district, in the Zone 1 and Zone 2 districts. So we came up with our local share for that, but it was a $10 million project at the time.
Maybe we can get a grant to take over the water company, to have the GCSD take over the water company and build a reservoir.
Well, maybe you should join us on the Water Ad Hoc Committee, and we could try pursuing something like that with the GCSD.
Okay.
Would that be of interest to you?
Yes.
I think it's time to talk to the GCSD a little bit more. Yeah. Of course, you got to remember that the water company has the water rights to the North Fork. They own those rights. Where they have their diversion point. I like the idea that you came up with, that, or was it Don, that said, if the GCSD were to build a freshwater pond, a potable pond up there on their lands, which they don't have much of, that's a 17-acre site up there, and possibly they could acquire some more land from Gualala Redwoods Timber just behind the sewer plant, which we tried to do at one time way back in the 90s. But yeah, we could sell water back to the water company if they stayed a public agency, a private agency, Don. If we could get a public agency to build a drinkable or a potable water pond. But then there you got all the logistics of bringing the potable water back across the bridge into Mendocino County.
Yeah, that's why maybe it makes more sense to have the reservoir on the north side of the Gualala River, not the south side.
Right.
Just from the standpoint of integration with the
existing
Gualala Water Company system.
Yeah.
And the the sewer committee could also be a parks district.
Sure, they could. They could be a lot of.
They could expand into a parks district.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's do that.
So right now, I mean, in terms of a GCSD, we pay taxes, correct, for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does everybody in Gualala pay taxes for this, even if you're not connected to the sewer system? For example, myself, I live in Gualala, but I'm not attached to the sewer system. So
it would be on your tax bill. It's part of a special district. If you're not in the district, you wouldn't pay that fee.
Okay, so we all pay for it.
But there might be some kind of a standby fee that you pay on your taxes. I don't remember, Don. You'd have to look at your tax bill.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Because you're part of Zone 3 and part of Zone 4, and the sewer district, the community services district, is looking into expanding into your Zone 3 and Zone 4.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't mind.
think those of us in Anchor Bay are paying into it.
What's that, Dan?
I don't think those of us in Anchor Bay are part of the GMAC area.
No, you're not. Not the GCSD. No, you're too far north. And then Anchor Bay has its own little sewer district in the Anchor Bay proper. behind the store.
So, yeah, North Gualala's service area does not coincide directly with the GCSD.
No, it does not.
Different, yeah.
Yeah.
GCSD could become anything that it wanted to in a district, including having a mayor and a city council to run all of it.
Mm-hmm.
They are the closest thing to a government that that Gualala has.
Right.
GMAC is not. It's a creature of the county.
Right.
But the GCSD could be a city government because of its being a service district.
Right. Maybe
it has a budget and everything. It can spend money.
Yes. Yes. I mean, they could have a mayor and a city council and an ambulance district, fire district, police district. Go on.
I think you guys are drifting off into fantasy land.
In 50 years, we can talk about it.
Robert would be more aware of this than anybody on this board, I think. But my feeling is that LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Commission, would have to approve the formation of a city. That's very unlikely to do that. I don't know what the bylaws. I was just tinkering to see if I could find out what the bylaws of the GCSD were, to see if they have a defined mission. Changing that mission would probably be fairly complicated. But, you know, yeah, I mean, no reason people shouldn't ask questions like that. I'm sure GCSD would rather be shocked if they heard this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to an earlier point that Melissa raised, there has been discussion about possibly converting the water company, if the Bowers were interested in it, to a publicly owned company or to a publicly owned service. You can have a water district. You could have, in addition to GCSD, you can have it as part of GCSD. You could do different things. You know, I personally would like to see other things done in this area. I think everybody would in terms of government. We're not getting enough out of the county. One more intriguing element of this is the idea of having Point Arena a nexus, because Point Arena would never get approved as a city today because it's too small. Next to us, we could have a city extending 13 miles and with a large tax base and do a lot of different things. That's another way to go. So there's a lot of options on the table, but don't get caught up on having a city council on GCSD, because I don't think that's going to happen. Mary, you know better.
Well, it's
it can do that because of its being a service district. It can, in the future, 50 or 60 years.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Their charter may be more limited than that.
Sure.
They can't just automatically do that. No more than a water district could have a city council. It can't.
Yeah,
can't do that.
But I
believe if I were to go to Fantasyland, Tom, the Gualala Community Services District would cover sewer, water, telephone, and electricity.
Yeah, well, that's a city, isn't it? So maybe you want to really consider trying to get Gualala established. Maybe you want to look at getting Gualala established as a city.
No, just a service, just an extended services district. If they cover sewer, why can't they cover electricity and phones and water?
That's a good question. I don't know what their bylaws and their charter said. Robert, you might know.
Let's look at it.
As far as I understand, the GCSD could expand its powers. It's been brought up before, prior to some of you being on the council here, and we tried to, with the board that the GCSD had at that time, we tried to have joint meetings to pursue that idea of having them expand their powers. I think it was talking about parking of all things at that time. And they said they had their hands full with just dealing with sewer. So my question is, you know, it would make realistic sense to have the community services district take on also water, and then thus be a public water system and be able to qualify for grants, the kind of grants that Dawn and I have been looking at, or knowing that that would help us with our water situation in our community, whether it's from being able to build a little bit or being able to have better fire protection. There's a lot of good reasons for having grants for a water company.
We lost Tom. Oh, you were frozen. I thought you were frozen again.
No,
you
I
weren't
was reading
moving.
something.
You were
I was reading the definition
statue.
of this.
Well, we can, like
Yes.
Dan just volunteered to help be on the Parks Committee. Let's have Melissa be on our Water Committee, Don. And while we're, well, hopefully we stay a full board or still a full council, we can pursue these things with more vigor with additional help on the committees.
Yes.
Okay, but let's look into it. Maybe we can, I need to set up that meeting with the GCSD or at least talk to the district manager, Chris Troyan, and maybe I can do that with someone.
You go to their next, when's their next meeting? Are they doing Zoom meetings or in-person meetings?
I believe they do Zoom meetings every third Thursday of the month. So I haven't been to one in a long time, but it's time again. So
why don't we go?
I would suggest that somebody reach out to the Mendocino County LASCO office.
That too, yeah.
And ask whether this is, ask what the limits of GCSD are. And also I would urge you guys, if you want to look into this, to not throw out other ideas like creating another city, which would be very difficult, or possibly approaching Point Arena to see if they want to annex the South Coast. That would probably be a much easier sell because it's already a city and it could extend its services. They'd probably be very glad to have a lot more taxpayers. We'd probably be very glad to have a lot more services in common. I know Point Arena struggles a lot just finding members for its council sometimes and solutions. You know, it's a different area, but it's a different idea. So there are a lot of ways to skin that cat if you really want to go there. You probably get some opposition on the county level too. So talk to Ted.
No violence towards cats.
Yeah, we could go on for hours discussing this matter, but
yeah, let's not.
Let's see if we can't.
I'm gonna pull a Melissa and fall asleep.
Yeah, let's slowly try to wrap it up here. What are we looking at? 8:10. What else do we need to talk about under Water Ad Hoc Committee? Don, anything at the moment?
How is the?
No, I think that's it, Robert. That's the main question.
How's the meeting doing?
Which meeting, Mary?
The water meeting that's supposed to go on.
That I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, David Bauer was going to come and talk, and then there was going to be a water forum this fall. How's that going?
Well, that's at a stall at the moment. Okay, we've been stalled at that water forum for probably over a year, but you know, we'll have to just, with new council members, we'll have to take it up from where we left off. Don and I also try to get together as much as possible, Mary, but we never did get a forum together. So, but let's for now move on to number 8 on our agenda, permit review assignments. Let me remind us, I think we edited this, or we amended this to assign this, and we haven't, well, we don't really, first of all, this is a THP, it says. It's a non-industrial timber management plan, it says, NTMP. And this is by Bauer Limited Partnership. To the best of my knowledge, a non-industrial timber management plan is a plan that I believe it goes all the way back to 2009 when this was filed. And it's a plan that exists in perpetuity. And it covers all of, or much of, the Bauer Limited Partnership lands. So he can go in, apparently the BLP can go into their lands at any given time during the logging seasons and log within this NTMP boundary. So what are we really going to be reviewing that we can really have any say in, is what I'm wondering. And or who would look into this? We had Tom and I down there, but that was a mistake. So who, if any of us want to look into this further?
So, so presumably he's the Bowers applying for a permit because they have to, right? And I can't imagine they'd be applying for a permit if they didn't need one.
I'm a little unclear on that. Yeah, maybe you have to do some kind of permitting, Henry, but I'm not positive. I mean, a non-industrial timber management plan is good for in perpetuity, from what I understood. So when he goes in to do different sections of this overall non-industrial timber management plan, maybe he does have to get some kind of a permit. I think that would be one thing to find out. Yeah.
In which case we can advise.
Right, Melissa. Mm-hmm. Because
it's in my front yard.
Okay. Well, first of all, we need to know 700 foot west of Robinson Gulch. That's north of you. Robinson Gulch is right adjacent to you and to the north of you, right, Melissa? So
it's in my front yard. I can see Robinson Gulch.
Right. But it says adjacent to Big Gulch, which is the gulch just north of Pacific Woods Road. So we need to hone in on where the exact location of this is, first of all, because if you drive up Pacific Woods Road, you'll notice a lot of the logging that's already been done there on the north side of Pacific Woods Road is actually probably 700 foot west of Robinson Gulch and adjacent to Big Gulch. So maybe there's another, you follow me? There's another section of that. It's over behind, well.
I'd have to see a map.
Yeah.
Haven't seen a map.
You know where the bedrock is? The gravel.
Absolutely.
Pit. Okay, you know where Tickled Pink is, just up Pacific Woods Road a ways. Tickled Pink, and some of those roads that go off to the west.
Tickled Pink.
Yeah. Those are all little roads, Tiger Tail Trail, Boca Chica.
What is Tickled Pink? It sounds like a Playboy Bunny club.
It's a county road that goes off to the west of Pacific Woods Road. And it's
a road name.
And it's adjacent to Big Gulch. And that's where a lot of logging has already occurred. The other road that borders Big Gulch would be, oh geez, what is it called? Big Gulch Road to the east of Highway 1. That's on the other side of Big Gulch. So pinpointing where this is would be something that somebody could do. And maybe it is myself because I didn't do too good of a job on the last one that Tom just covered, but let me try to pinpoint where this is. Okay.
Okay.
So it sounds like it may be between Big Gulch Road and Pacific Woods Road, doesn't it, Robert?
Exactly. That's where Big Gulch.
Okay. I thought it was between me and Pacific Woods Road.
No, it sounds more like it's on the north side of Big Gulch. Why they put in the 700 foot west of Robinson Gulch is kind of confusing, but you know, sections 21, 22, 27, 28, approximately 0.8 miles northwest of Gualala. I'd like to see a little bit closer where that is. So if anybody wants to volunteer with me, we can do so now.
You want to volunteer?
I'll volunteer. Oh.
You will, Henry?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I know where it is, I'll show up too, so I can talk about it.
Okay, so that's some.
We probably don't need to have 3 on it.
Not right away.
Well, 2 of you know you will go. I only might go. I'm not real good at going to places anymore because I'm so terrified of ticks. I've had too many dug out of me at RCMS.
Well, just your interest in it will supply you with a map once we find out a little bit closer where it's at.
Okay.
And then you can speak on it a little bit better.
Okay.
Okay, so we've taken care of that item on our agenda. Henry and
let me know when you're going to go so that if I can go, and you'll be there and point out what we're talking about. Because me walking by doesn't do me, driving by doesn't do me any good. I can't figure out what I'm looking at.
you got to keep in mind too, we can't just go and trespass on this land either. So first of all, we got to get some maps to show us even where this is.
Exactly.
And then we'll take it from there. So we'll get back to you,
Okay.
Melissa, Henry and I. Okay, folks, anything else we need to cover tonight? Administrative Secretary Mary Mobert's report.
Yes, I worked 18.12 hours in May. Materials were $3.60 for a total of $320.68, I do believe. I had, my fingers didn't walk the way they should have.
Okay, and that's the latest invoice.
8 cents, yeah, no, 65 cents, I'm sorry, 65 cents.
But that was the latest invoice you sent me that I'll then submit to the
that
county.
is correct. And I did receive my check this last Saturday, the 25th.
Okay. And that's still at that raise amount, right?
Pardon me?
And and that's still at the amount that you were raised to, yes?
Yes,
Or not?
yes.
Okay, good.
And I worked approximately a little more than 1 hour less than I did last month.
Okay. That's good. Okay.
I'm really watching how much I do work, but you know, I write it down to the second.
Oh yeah, we see that. I mean, you're very accurate on that.
When I stop, I stop. When I start, I start. And if it's 17 minutes or 22 minutes or 46 minutes, that's what it is.
Yeah, you got that down, that's for sure. Okay, Mary, thanks on that. Vice Chair Murphy's report.
Thanks. I'm going to share a screen to visualize something here.
Okay.
We just spent a lot of time talking about GCSD.
Right.
And I just went on to LAFCO's site and came up with a long document that shows some really incredible maps of various districts in the county, including GCSD. And there's a good discussion there. I just sent this to the whole council. This is the best map I've ever seen of GCSD. It shows every parcel that's within the district.
I have that original map in my office from the surveyor that drew up this boundary. Yeah.
Very cool. And I just, I also sent you an email with everything I learned about Caltrees yesterday afternoon, so that anybody doing a THP can learn how to access the right report and find what you need. And my comment here is that quite often the answers we're looking for are right in front of us if we go onto the internet and look. And we probably limit our discussions at the meetings a lot more if people were a little bit more assertive in going after this stuff and finding the information and using the resources that are available to us through the computer. So I just want to encourage people to do that more. And that's the end of my comment for tonight.
Okay. I don't have much of a report. I'm just happy to see additional council members and additional effort and interest coming to the council in Kevin, in Henry, and now in Dan. And I just hope that we can continue to work beneficially for the community in the future of the GMAC. And I've been doing it for a long time. You get kind of burnt out, but then when you have new blood coming onto the council, it's just really invigorating again. So thanks for all your guys' new ideas and work that you're bringing to us existing council members. And I just hope we can keep it going. So, and Tom, as always, thank you for all your input and all the effort you do with getting these meetings together. And I hope you don't sell your house for a while. I shouldn't say that.
It's this view for sale. Yeah, well, I have property in the area. I love Gualala. I love the people of Gualala. Yeah. And I'm very glad to serve them in any way I can. And that won't change. But if it does come to pass that I must leave Mendocino County, then I must leave GMAC. And I hope to stay involved in the community on some level. regardless of that, and we'll see what happens. But right now, nothing's for certain. So
yeah, okay.
Fingers crossed I will, and fingers crossed I won't. So there you go.
Well, if you do sell, maybe we'll, well, we'll see.
Yeah, it's, there's other ways to serve too. I could still be an advisor on certain subjects to the council. I mean, the streetscape is an encyclopedia. You really need to know the ins and outs of every step of that thing, whoever works on that. Yeah. I will certainly remain as a resource for any issues where I can help the council.
Okay.
And wherever you are, you can call into a Zoom meeting. We're going to be meeting by Zoom for a long time.
That's true.
It's so nice to see you on Zoom, Melissa. We haven't seen you in years.
I've heard the cat, but I've never seen the cat.
That's why I couldn't attend the last meeting. I was burying her.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Melissa.
Melissa.
We're so sorry to hear that.
She was my best friend and my roommate, and she's gone.
I can't imagine. I'm very sorry for you.
She would have been 20 July 12th.
Goodness. That's a long time.
She's been in my life for a long, long time. It just doesn't seem real that she's not here.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad she brought you so much joy, and I know really her memory will never leave you.
So I couldn't make it.
Okay. Understand.
That's a hard one.
Well, Melissa, can you entertain a motion to adjourn at this point?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay.
And I'll second.
And Tom will second. Okay, guys. Good meeting. Thank you.
Are we going to vote?
Let's take a vote. Yeah. And again, Dan, good to have you on board.
Thank you.
Okay. Melissa.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Don.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
And Robert. Aye. Okay, you guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, one last comment. I have some bad news to share with all of you. The Warriors are getting crushed.
Oh, wait, I'm recording it. Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
I am too. Don't tell me that.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was doing you a favor.
No.
Now things are going to change, though. Once I get home, they'll change.
Stop it.
Okay. No, they're not going to come from behind.
Yeah, stop it. Just stop it. Goodbye. We're adjourned. Goodbye.
Observer affects the observed.
I know how your father-in-law feels about that too, Henry. So, okay, you guys, adios. Thank you for.
Okay, good night, everybody.
What are the Warriors? Wait a minute. What are the Warriors?
Basketball.
Bye, everybody.
I'm with you, Melissa. I don't care.
See you next month, everybody. Talk to you between now and then. Bye.
That's football. Footballs are round. Footballs are round.
Yeah.